to our Wednesday finance meeting. Today we're going to go slightly off topic to talk about the Municipal Advisory Board. In the past, this has been a useful forum for the county to share information, suggestions, and address mutual areas of concern with our colleagues at the municipal level and at the townships and boroughs as well. Kirk has been active with the MAB for a long time and has led an effort to see if it can be revitalized and has done some surveying and some new research and is here to share those results with us.
Okay. The background, I guess we started the MAB in 2004 here, I guess when you first came on board when we started. So we've been at it now about 11 years. Last year and the previous year, a couple of meetings canceled with more agenda items. I think there was fluctuating attendance with some of the municipal partners. So as we moved ahead, we wanted to really take stock of everyone involved to see, is this something we want to continue, does it have value? So we did a survey, used SurveyMonkey, sent out to all of our municipalities. We got 29 responses to it, which I think was pretty good. One of the key findings though was really that everybody that had attended
That's out of 33, 29 out of 33. Okay.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
good. Yeah, so when you look at it, everybody that attended an MAB meeting said they had a lot of value. There was, I believe, 3 responses said they didn't have any value. So I went back and evaluated those responses, but they never attended the meeting. So, it's tough to, it's tough to look at, showing value for something.
You mean that municipality never attended? Or did the individual take the
The
survey?
person responding said they
Yeah.
didn't have value to the municipality and they've never attended.
Okay.
Yeah, so really then I think the municipalities are saying, yes, there's value to coming to the meetings. If they didn't attend meetings, they were saying they weren't available at that time, or other conflicts with local meetings were some of the top reasons for not attending. Networking and gaining valuable information were top reasons for attending. Felt like they were key issues that were there for. And then gearing our agenda in the future towards problem solving, I think that's a good recommendation. And, in theory, that's what we want the meetings to do. Trying to find the problems we want to solve and everything, I think is a tougher challenge to make sure that we're keeping the agenda items fresh and relevant. The best time to meet, weekday evenings at 7 p.m. That was a question we had. Early morning meetings work better, do afternoon meetings. So we put it down at 7 p.m. came out, the weekday evenings, the best time to meet. Then we also asked folks that were responding to any topics. We've done this before, so you can see some of the topics there. I don't believe any of these are new, but we do want to keep them fresh about asking folks what the topics are. Also from the board here, pushing topics down of issues that we need to discuss with municipalities. So the recommendations coming out of this, again, these are from staff. We'll leave it to the board to decide how you'd like to proceed. I think we should continue the MAB. I think meeting 3 times a year is appropriate. Folks in the survey say quarterly, but that last quarter is always tough. You get the budget season with municipalities, November, December are tough vacation months. So probably 3 times a year. I did a little research on the municipal calendars. The 4th Tuesday of every month is the only time when there's not a municipal board of supervisors or borough council meeting.
In the county.
Commissioners in the county. So that tends to be a pretty good day. So I'd say let's target that so that we eliminate the conflict there with local meetings so folks can attend. Try to keep them, run tightly from about 7 to 8:30 at the latest. We don't want to go on too long. And I think from just looking historically, if our agendas have one major topic on them, and then we have municipalities, boards of commissioners identify other things that they want to be on there, minor topics that we could cover, always include information sharing. I think that'll make for a good agenda. We don't have too much on there. I know sometimes in the past, it's tough to rein in some of the speakers. They like to talk a long time. And when that happens, I think it deters attendance at future meetings if somebody rambles on too long. So we need to try and keep it tight and keep it relevant. The one thing I do see moving ahead that I'd like to recommend, though, is in the past, we did a lot of logistics, organizing the meeting, getting the agenda set, and I would run the meetings. Glad to do that if you'd like to do it, but I would rather see the board of commissioners lead the meetings, and if we have 3 meetings a year, maybe split it up, 1 meeting each. The commissioner assigned that meeting, lead the agenda, lead the discussion. I really see the value in this, and I've kind of sat back and watched the meetings. The municipalities really like the interaction with the board, and I think whenever the board's leading the discussion, sometimes they're more apt to really interact and ask a lot of questions. for obvious reasons. You know, they can hear from me anytime, and I don't matter a whole lot in the whole scheme of things. So they want to talk to the decision makers and
Well, yeah, but I can tell you what doesn't happen.
Don't say that.
Are your outreach meetings. So I'm kind of in the back of my mind seeing, you know, the timing of, I think I just put the June meeting, I know I put the October meeting for outreach east-west on my calendar. So not to then have the redundancy of that outreach meeting. Now, I know that's during noon, and I know that may be targeting another audience, but oftentimes they're the same people that you see at the MAB meetings.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because, you
So,
know,
I mean,
we need to make sure there's
either
separate-
a topic line that you're gonna capture in that planning outreach meeting and sort of consistently kind of run that, maybe. Maybe direct more, I don't know. Our focus is sort of here, kind of compartmentalized. Yours on the planning commission for outreach is directed, you know, whatever.
Now, I think it's a good point, Barb, because sometimes there'll be a little bleed over every now and then, but I think we want to keep the meetings separate. And some of the open-ended comments folks were saying, well, that it can be duplicative of other
Right.
issues. So if I'm covering MS4 issues with the outreach meeting, we don't need to cover MS4 at
Right.
the MAB.
Well, that's their choice if they want to send the same people to the second meeting, but the MAB was formed specifically to deal with the elected officials, whereas the outreach is staff. If they send people in place, and that happens at the COG too, but that's their decision whether they want to do that or not. And I think it would be a big mistake for us to stop talking to municipal officials just because the staff people heard somewhere else.
Well, then maybe we need to rename it as opposed to municipal elected officials board.
Well,
I
there's a
mean-
lot of thought went into that name, and it was to be a mutually collaborative organization. I don't think changing the name really does anything. The failure with it is not the name, it's the lack of support, lack of participation over the last few years.
And I think the overlap comes in the specific topics. You know, if we're talking about outreach and talking about here, then there is overlap. We can avoid that, especially when we're determining the agenda for the MAB. If we know it's being something to discuss in outreach, we can take it off the table, discuss it.
Well, the thing was, with the municipal advisory board, that's only in recent years you've taken the lead on that. What you've described is exactly how we did it before, where commissioners were the ones running it pretty much with some support staff. Sounds to me like you're recommending that we go back to that original approach. Your role there was not as the planning director. Once you took it over, it was more as a representative of the commissioners. We didn't just deal with planning issues, although the planning issues tend to be the ones that affect the municipalities to the greatest extent, that and public safety. So that's what you, and at the time Ted Washburn, should bring to these.
Yeah, so moving ahead, in terms of coordination, I'm glad to continue to coordinate the effort. You know, we have some recommendations here as we get close to the meeting, about 3 weeks prior, whoever's going to take the lead on that agenda, coordinating the agenda with that commissioner member, getting an RSVP list back to you about a week before so you can see who's attending. Glad to do all that, work out the topics in coordination with the board and also with the municipalities. But at the end of the day, though, when we get to the meeting, I think it's the commissioner's role to run that.
Well, the one point I would make though too, and then you touched on this earlier, which is the open floor portion, which we've had since the beginning. It's the same thing, we formed this at the same time we formed the Emergency Services Action Panel, started doing the legislative interaction meetings quarterly, and formed the South Central Caucus. And all those meetings have featured an open floor feature, which in many cases have turned out to be the most valuable part. When we do South Central Caucus now, the last 2 meetings, I don't think we've even had a formal topic. We go in, this conversation starts, and you can really get everybody to clam up by closing time because they have so much to say and so much to discuss. So I would not want to see us shortchange that open floor opportunity, because that's where you get the stuff that really comes up, and bubbles up from the bottom, find out what they're interested in finding out from us.
And I think, yeah, it's a good point. You know, when we look at the agendas, keeping it so that we don't have a jam packed with like 3 topics, you know, have it one topic so that folks see when they see the agenda, we're allowing plenty of time for open discussion, and we expect that to happen. And I think if the board is initiating that discussion, asking questions, I think that's going to happen a lot more freely than it would if I were facilitating.
I mean, we should though, I'm just going to say, we should, if we want to have a particular issue or particular, if you want to have a commissioner run this one and the next commissioner run the next one, that's fine. But we got into this rut where if one commissioner spoke, then all the other commissioners had to speak. So then I think we were actually adding things to the agenda just so everybody got their face time opportunity. If you're gonna do that.
The rub we've been in is that commissioners, and from what I've seen, there's, the commissioners have sort of looked to other sources for leadership on this. And I think what you're saying is that, and for whatever reasons, I'm not being critical, it's a simple fact. What I've seen, since I've gotten here, is that there are a bunch of emails going back and forth saying, are we going to do this? Is there an agenda? Yada, yada, yada. I think what I'm hearing from you and through you from the survey results is that the commissioner involvement, however that's structured, is a key thing to this being successful. So I would just a couple of things. In terms of the mechanics and the logistics and all that stuff, frankly, you probably should come out of the commissioner's office rather than your office to get you off the hook and out of the middle. Plus, we can badger these folks more readily than you can because you have to pick up the phone and dial a number. We just sit Jen on them and she'll do it.
You see her badger? She's a badger with the best of it.
So, I think that's, if that's the key to success, I don't, these are not shy people. So.
That's fine with me. Yeah,
I think
that works.
That makes sense.
So looking ahead then, probably suggest the silent dispatch has just come up as a potential topic. Look at rolling that potentially in April. This first meeting, so this year we do April, October, and then next year look at February, April, and October. So that's spread the 3 meetings out over the course of the year.
And when the origin of the silent dispatch thing was coming out of a public safety board meeting, and Commissioner Cross had suggested that as a topic because it's really well suited for this because it's about public safety, which is everybody's concern, but in implementing the system changes, this is going to filter down and impact on the localities. And the localities, from my experience with the external advisory board with public safety, sometimes they feel like the tail at the end of the dog and would like to be part of that dialogue further up the river. And I think that was a particularly good suggestion. It's also the right time for it because it's all kind of coming together. So that's where that thing, and I think there's a perfect example when we talk about commissioner taking the lead on this, is to come up with an idea, however that comes out, in whatever what context, and then running with it, and then getting, we can get the folks from public safety to provide whatever, details or exposition is needed, any background research or what have you. But I'm thinking all the commissioners have stuff that they feel strongly about. All the commissioners have their feelers out into the county, at the borough and municipal level. And rotating it along those lines gives commissioners each a chance to take a lead to run each of the show, each of the 3 shows every year.
Well, then certainly that April 1 needs to be done, and I don't want, there's no better place to get the elected officials who may never have been in that building an opportunity to come in, have the meeting, have that tour, and actually see what that CAD system does.
Yeah, that's a good point too on location. We asked everybody, if they want to have the county facilities rotated around county facilities, came back, the centralized county facilities, so that was perfect. Public safety, our space, their space, and there's plenty of room for us to do it. But for this topic, I agree, have it there, they have to see this first.
I think it actually see it.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it is important that we, continue with these meetings. I've seen it now from both sides. For many years, I was our delegate from our township, from East Pennsburg, to come to the municipal advisory board meetings. And I think that it is, I have no problem with, commissioners taking a lead on it and, spreading the burden out with respect to one commissioner, lead this discussion, another commissioner lead the next discussion. I do think, though, that we should get involved in restricting the flow of conversation and dialogue. I think all of us may have different ideas about different things. So I do think that open forum, is probably the most important part of this. And, they are, it's termed municipal advisory board. Part of this is to learn from our local municipalities what their thoughts are on a whole host of issues, including things that are important to them individually, but also perhaps important to them and to us as a county as a whole. So, I think it has tremendous value, goes hand in hand with the work that's underway in Western Cumberland COG and also the Capital Region Council of Governments. Some of it may be duplicated, because, for example, you have listed here stormwater management. That's been like the #1 topic of discussion at CACOG now for the past, year or 6 months. So, in any event, I think it's good if we can kind of hone in on something maybe that hasn't been discussed, that's important for all of our municipalities. But I think, when it was implemented way back when, I thought it was a tremendous opportunity. We were able to come in and complain and moan and groan over the fact that of the 800 megahertz system and the fact that it wasn't working. And I remember Doc Geisthwaite and I, kind of like lead the charge on that because it wasn't working the way it was supposed to. Now I think we're pretty much finally got it
Oh, was that
working.
that new radio system?
Yeah, that new radio
Yeah, how
system
about that? How clever.
is now 10 years old and outdated or whatever. So, but in any event, I think it is good that, to engage, with our local municipalities on a regular basis. If we're gonna do it, now we're talking about doing it 3 times a year instead of 4 times a year, or this year only twice this year. So we want to put some extra thought into the meetings that we're gonna have this year, then I think. But, no, I think it's really important. And, not all, you have the outreach meetings, east and west, that's great for staff, okay?
Yeah.
But a lot of the, local elected municipal officials can't make it to those meetings because they're working, so.
Yeah, the overlap on the outreach meetings typically comes from the west, because what we'll see in the outreach meetings in the east, we get 95% staff. In the west, it's flipped. It's almost all elected officials, because they don't have any staff, so.
But I think, agree with Gary, I think it's important we have that open forum, during this, and spend a good bit of time on that. Allow people to speak up on different things, let us know where they're coming from, and then we can hopefully have a response for them as well.
What I like about this is, I know we've talked about having county meetings in the evenings out away from the courthouse. And, the notion being that the public can participate, but they really can only, if it's a regular meeting, they can really only participate in the public comment or other business sections. This may not be geared to bringing in the public per se, but it is certainly it's much less of a didactic, us pushing information, and much more of an exchange. And I would think that, you need to combine structure with the room for sort of spontaneous stuff that comes up. I think if the commissioners do a good job, and I have every reason to think that they would, their choice of the topic would be based on some conversations that they've been having on an ongoing basis, or your general familiarity with what's key importance to the people at the local level. And so it would be a topic of, quote, technically the commissioners choosing, but really reflective of what's important to the people at the county level. And I think you at the municipal level. And I think, you need some kind of structure. I think the caucus meetings go well because that shrimp disc is laced with something that just gets everybody talking.
Food does help.
And food helps. This on it, and they don't want food here. This thing, if you have like a marquee thing, but make it clear that you have 90 minutes, 45 minutes is going to be on, or whatever the breakdown is. You can have 45 on the marquee topic. We can always bring in people from the municipalities and boroughs and townships to be part of that presentation on the marquee stuff too. And then leave it open. Then you have something to focus people's attention to. You have a way to promote it. And you have buy-in from people at the municipal level as part of the presentation. So I think this could be a really good thing.
And they can certainly go out over the internet.
Absolutely.
I mean, the meetings are sunshine. So
Yes.
they can certainly have the capability, and I want to send that out over the internet. Anybody in the municipalities, if they want to publish that in their newsletter, they have their residents turn on and watch the meeting. They can do that.
I think the potential for comedic and dramatic content here is amazing, because I know at the Lee did walk in and was greeted by his friends, whose former colleagues at the local level asked about when the county's going to pay for all the things that Jim asked the county to pay for when he was with borough manager. So I think it's good. It's a great setup.
I think freshening it up, it's good to take stock where we're at. We've done that. The municipalities too, I mean, one of the questions we had on the survey, gave them the option to respond, say that the MAB should be discontinued. Nobody checked on it, right? So, you know, if they felt like there was no value here, they didn't need to attend, they're not shy. We've done other surveys, they're not shy. So I think they're telling us they have value here. If we go back and change the form, I think they'll even see more value than what they've seen before.
So the timeframe still works. The question that I have, and I think it's been answered before, was, you know, when we first introduced it, we did have the meal aspect of it, which, you know, I wasn't joking when I said food does help. It's, you know, it definitely is the near conversation, and people have a long day. And we always had private sponsors for that, and there was a lot of work to get private sponsors. So has anyone indicated the food thing as a showstopper?
It was a question on there, I think it was like 84% said no food.
No food. Do you know what that, I know you weren't wanting it then, but do we have any idea what the cost of that was? When we did that?
Yeah, I got actually sponsors. It was, depending, you know, how many people came, so I did $400 a meeting.
Okay.
And then we also gave the sponsor the floor, which then started to be a problem. because
Right, time's also
subjected to a
limited.
half-hour sales pitch before we use. You know, half-hour, 45-minute dinner, half-hour sales pitch, we need to start to be.
Well, the same thing happens at CCAP. You know, they have a sponsor for the dinner, person stands up, chews up all the time, and speakers get enough.
Were they when there was food, were they earlier in the evening than 7 o'clock?
Yeah, they were like 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah, I think they might have started
Yeah.
at 6:30.
It was dinner
Yeah.
6, and then the formal
Yeah.
meeting started at 7, but the conversation started right at
Oh,
6.
yes. You know what, with night meetings, we go to a lot of night meetings. I've just seen the transition. I think folks are a lot more focused now. They come to, folks that have a lot of night meetings, they want to come in, they're interested, they're dedicated, they want to come in, get the business done.
Conservation District went tonight meetings. I mean, we started at 7:30 in the morning and everyone said, get this. Well, I'm 7 o'clock at night, so.
I applaud your use of the survey. It's a great way to get information, real information. I think that really helps sort of push the discussion forward when you have stuff, data like that to point to about people's preferences.
So in terms of transitioning that, if Jen's going to be coordinator, then I can. give
Well, I'll
her-
talk to Sandy. Sandy's the boss. They allow me to have office space.
Okay.
But Sandy's, we'll figure that out. And then I think we can start working with Commissioner Cross on this first one and figure out the best way to go. We'll probably call on you for your list.
Yeah, probably still attend some. I found value, just the networking value to see everybody there and talk to them.
Plus, you can collect on all your golf dates.
Yeah, good point. I forgot about that.
I didn't see that, we didn't ask Jen whether she wants this additional.
No, we're gonna ask Sandy. Sandy's not here to say no.
Then Sandy can delegate it to Jen.
But Jen does have experience for her planning days, so she knows the routine, right?
Anything else? Short, sweet, good stuff. Thanks, Kurt. Thanks, everybody.